Hi, my name is Tade Ghazalian, owner and operator of Dailog Cafe here in West Hollywood. Family-owned business. Uh, Mom and Dad started this with the dream of getting my brother and I to a stable place in life. So the history of Dailog was a really interesting one. My brother and I uh, always wanted to come to LA. We had a lot of family here, and my brother fell in love and moved out here. And he's like, hey, listen, we're moving to LA. And I said, okay. And I found out about schools and universities, and I came out here for schools. And soon after, my parents, well, at the time we lived in Canada. So I was born in Italy, Rome, grew up in Canada, and came to LA to be with majority of my other family. And my parents were like, what are we doing here? They actually sold every single thing they had in Canada to buy the cafe in 2007, which was actually 1 year before the recession hit. So it was this was their retirement plan that turned into their full-time job. And I remember my brother ran the restaurant with my parents for years. And one day my brother said, hey, listen, there's a new opportunity for me. Here you go. These are our books. You're taking it on. And I began working in the family business. And I remember the first 6 months, I remember seeing on my dad's desk, a stack of paychecks in his name. And I called my brother and I said, hey, listen, what are these stack of paychecks? Have they been deposited? And my brother's like, no, we actually haven't been able to cash flow Dailog for the past 4 months. So I haven't been able to deposit dad's paychecks. So my dad was living from his savings accounts. And this was during the recession. And this was at a time where I knew my parents were doing 14, 16-hour days. My parents would show up at the shop at 6, open it up at 7, work the entire day, close up at 3, 4 p.m. My mom would go home, boil soft-boiled eggs at home, cook, and literally do the exact same thing every single day. And I remember that work ethic, and I knew what it took to get Dailog to the day it was, to what it is today. And everybody thinks, oh, well, it's such a crazy busy place. But nobody realized that there's 13 years behind Dailog of this single location of somebody being here 14, 15, 16. I've done 36-hour days at Dailog where I worked the entire day and did construction or painted or changed or deep cleaned and literally opened up the restaurant next day. So everything was sound. It took a lot to get to where we are, and I'm very proud. I've been able to recruit a very talented team, and I wouldn't be able to do it with the team without having a team that I have today. I feel like we are the strongest we've ever been, and there's still a lot of obstacles that we face on the day-to-day, and there's a lot. There's so many different obstacles happening. The one blessing of COVID was our outzone permits. One thing I will say of this city, and for the record, we've had over the past 12 years, I've met probably the coolest people I've ever. It's insane that the caliber of celebrities, of extremely talented, of extremely professional people coming into Dailog, and it's always been a place to come in. But the out zone during COVID was a blessing that this city gave me, that not only kept me alive, but gave me the opportunity to grow. That is such an interesting question, because I have had probably about 120 hours allocated to the conversion of this out zone so far. Over the past year and a half, I have spoken to residents, I've spoken to the council, I have spoken to Chamber of Commerce. I've done speeches. I've went to council meetings. I have a great understanding of what the outzone is, but I will say, if you can look at West Hollywood and say if there was something this city did during COVID that made this city greater than it was giving the businesses the opportunity to shine without zones. I have people from China, from Europe, Italy, Spain, Mexico City, Belgium, Greece, all coming to Dailog because they see our out zones and they see our outdoor patios on TikTok, on Instagram, influencers from all over the world coming and saying how, hey, this is the place to go in West Hollywood, which everybody knows West Hollywood has some of the most talented, the most beautiful people there is. So we've been here since 2007, and I love to try things, and granted, 50% of the time I get it wrong. And I was like, let's try this. And, my dad and we used to hand make gelato together. So it's actually a very sentimental part of, Dailog is my dad and I spending Thursday nights, bringing pistachios or bringing local produce and making gelato out of it. And we could test things like this. And you know what? If it didn't work, no problem. We'd be able to change, try something different. We did a juice bar. We would fresh squeeze our orange juice. We would do different things and, try flatbreads, tried paninis. And it was a very creative space to do these things. Now I've noticed that the way we look at problems are different, and potential opportunities we're less inclined to take risks on them because we don't have as much wiggle room to try and being creative. With these out zones, I had permits for a whole beautiful kitchen with fryers, and I wanted to do tater tots and do steak frites and some really cool dinner items, because I've been able during COVID, since I was working every day, I was able to recruit the best managers, the best GM, the best line cooks onto my team at the time where everybody was scared, and grow Dailog into an 85-person, as people call it, the West Hollywood juggernaut. When it comes to the growth of Dailog in West Hollywood, I have taken a more slow your roll approach, because our roads are not paved far enough to understand which one to take. And I am not sure where my out zone falls, in all honesty. And without my out zone, I would have to let go of 50% of my team. The economics of how a business runs with third-party deliveries and dine-in and all the moving pieces, when you have that much friction of 50% of your business, it's hard to think. Can you work with only one arm? If one day you woke up and you can only use one arm, can you still work? Can you still do what you need to do? You don't know. And until somebody tells you, hey, don't worry, you're going to be able to keep going. Or, hey, don't worry, we're going to make sure that we helped. It's interesting. I had more confidence during COVID of the support that I needed than I do now. And this is what makes me nervous as a young operator, because there's a lot of cities that need life, and my team is so lively, and there's a lot of pressures. For many who don't know, my dad passed away August of last year, and it was a really heartbreaking thing for my family, my brother, my mom, and everybody else. And I just remember us putting a paper on the door and saying, hey, we're going to be closed today for my dad's funeral service. The next day when I came, one of the locals, one of the residents that I've never seen before, showed up and gave me a bouquet of flowers and said, I am so sorry for your loss. And I asked, hey, how did you know my dad? And she started laughing, and she goes, I've been in the city before you were born. And she must have been in her 70s or 80s. And she would say that she would walk every single morning at 6:30 from her apartment all the way to the corner, and my dad saying hello to her was the point where she would turn around and walk back. And she was never a customer of Dailog, but my dad was part of her everyday routine for years. And that really touched me, and I realized how important it is to be part of the community. And I want to be able to continue to do this without having that nervousness of, can I continue what everything I've done up to this point. So these, I will say, we feed the entire sheriff's department. My landlord is a strong volunteer to the city. He goes to many events. I feed almost every single fire department, paramedics, all the sheriffs. They're constantly at the restaurant, and I will continue to support other mom and pop. So yeah, and to all the residents out there, we are here for everybody. And if there's opinions on how things need to change or what would make things better, I'm all ears. I'm sure if you walk by Dailog, you'll see me there. You can always stop me. But I need everybody to voice their opinions on how amazing West Hollywood is with these out zones and how they're currently set up, and really tell council on what makes you happy on your days off when you are hanging out on that 1 or 2 days that you have of peace. What do you do? And let everybody know